Hi, I'm Melvin McCray, and you're listening to Chasing Dreams with Aimee J.
Welcome to Chasing Dreams podcast with Aimee J. Aimee believes that realizing a life without regrets is achieved by taking chances, chasing your dreams, making moves, and overcoming your doubts. The Chasing Dreams podcast will help you overcome life's obstacles, believe in your potential, and inspire you to face your fears. And now here's the woman who is passionately pursuing her dreams, Aimee J.
Hi, Dream Chasers. This is Aimee J, and thank you so much for tuning into episode 48 of Chasing Dreams. We're so close to 50. It's crazy. I don't even know how we got this far. And once again, I have a wonderful guest on the show. He's a friend. His name is Melvin McCray. He is president of Media Genesis Solutions, LLC, and he's a man who wears many hats. He's a filmmaker, a journalist, a professor, and a mentor among many other hats that he wears. Mr. McCray contributed his technical and editorial skills to World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, World News with Charles Gibson, Nightline, and Peter Jennings' Special Reports for 28 years. He's taught broadcast journalism at the Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism for the past 12 years and teaches journalism, video journalism, and oral history in an after-school program at the Harlem Renaissance High School in 2012, and his students, through his nonprofit program, Digital Media Training Program, won the second annual White House Student Film Festival for the film Mentoring in Harlem. And guys, when you go to the show notes page, you'll see some links to the videos and things that he's done and some of the documentaries he's put together, as well as his students, so definitely check that out. Mr. McCray himself has won a number of awards himself, including the American Film Institute's Independent Filmmaker of the Year Award. He's a friend and a very, very busy man, and I'm lucky enough to have caught him between things that he has going on in his car today. So, Mr. McCray, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure being with you.
I'm so happy we were able to make it. I've known you now, 10, 16, 18 years? Wow.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, when you put something to it, 18 years, and I've always been amazed at what you do. And we've kind of been working on planning this, and you know, when I have guests on the show, they send me materials and stuff. I got Mr. McCray's stuff at 3 a.m, I think, this morning. Did you sleep?
More and more sleep. It's been. There certainly have been times when I have foregone sleep, but it's probably not a good idea.
And it's not, but I bring up the point because that's the kind of person you are. I mean, you've worked at ABC essentially for many, many, many years. It's about, how many years would you say? 28?
28 years at ABC News, yes.
Yeah, so 28 years, you retire, and most people who retire relax, go to the beach, kick up, read books. You, if anything, and your family can attest, get busier. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it is. And the reason is because while at ABC, I had dreams of doing other things. And I was, spending some time honing those dreams and honing my skills so that I'd be able to achieve them. So I was chomping at the bit once I retired. I said, okay, now I get to, no holds barred, go out and chase my dreams. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. And I'm really having the time of my life.
Now, did you necessarily wait until retirement to do that? Did you put little things here and there that kind of whet the appetite, so to speak, earlier in your life?
Not really. I mean, I actually did most of the things that you mentioned while working at ABC, trained by time and place. I use my vacations wisely and was able to, do some travel in connection with some of the projects that I was working on. But I did teach at Columbia while still at ABC. And I still ran my production company while working at ABC. And, I obviously didn't work for another competing network, but certainly nonprofits in my community, things like Princeton University, Pratt Institute, the Society for the Preservation of Weeksville.
Now, these are all things that you enjoy doing.
Thoroughly, and it's all sort of linked. The work that I do at ABC is essentially visual storytelling, journalism, and when I go out and do a project for a nonprofit, I'm telling their story visually. So working with people like Peter Jennings, Robert Krulwich, Dick Schaap, Deborah Amos, Beth Nissen, these were all people who are I really loved working with them and having those creative juices flowing, even though it was in oftentimes some very stressful environments. In other words, you had a deadline looming. You had the pressures of getting everything accurate, the pressure of being very creative so it looks visually stimulating, all in an environment where you knew that there were going to be about 15, 16 million people looking at the story that you were working on within seconds or minutes. And so there was a certain amount of pressure, but the ability to creatively tell stories is a really fascinating skill to have, and to be able to share it with 15 million people on a regular basis was just a wonderful opportunity, and one that I miss in a way, although I'm sharing my storytelling skills to others on another platform, but definitely not 15 million. But I got to tell you that ABC News doesn't have 15 million viewers anymore either, so everything has been truncated quite a bit.
It's amazing how things change with time, right?
Yeah, nothing stays the same.
Not at all. But let's, speaking of time, let's rewind a little bit. How did you fall into video journalism? Did you always want to be a filmmaker, someone who looked into journalism?
No, I actually was really focusing on completing my senior thesis at Princeton. And I had never done a project as expansive as that. And I knew there was a lot riding on it. And so I was really focused, and maybe too focused, because I didn't look for a job. I didn't really have any prospects, after graduation. And it just so happens that one of my roommates had applied for a job on the publishing side at Time Incorporated. And he got an offer. And he told me that they were they had some editorial positions open, and I applied. And the rest is history. I worked for 4 years for Time Incorporated, which was a really incredible company to work for, because they were creating new magazines. They had created this entity called HBO. It was a very creative environment, and they were open to ideas, and they wanted you to suggest not only story ideas, but magazine ideas, book ideas, very collaborative environment. And I got to tell you, this is something that, most people don't know. They had a educational policy in which they would reimburse you 100% of job-related courses and 75% of non-job-related courses, as long as it was at a degree-granting institution. So I totally took advantage of that. Every year that I worked there, every semester, I was taking about 5 courses because I could. This is like, being at a candy store. I mean, an educational opportunity, and you just had carte blanche to take anything you want. So I took filmmaking, videography, photography, writing, fiction writing, nonfiction writing, screenplay writing, and it was one of the most creative periods in my life. I mean, and I took them at NYU and at the New School University, and these were all courses that were taught by top people in their fields, and I developed a lot of relationships, and I just really felt like my creative juices were unleashed, and I wasn't focusing on a degree. I just wanted to explore my creative side.
It definitely sounds like it sounds like you were just soaking it up while you had the chance.
I did for 4 years. They paid for pretty much everything that I took, and I mean, it was phenomenal experience.
Now, if you hadn't had this opportunity, if you hadn't fallen into Time Inc. in the job there, what do you think you would have done?
I don't know. See, that's just it. I had no clue. I do know what I would have done. I applied to law school.
Wait, what?
I got in. Yeah. I applied to law school, quiet as it kept, and I deferred admission, and I was going to take a year off and work. I don't really think I had a deep desire to be a lawyer, but it was sort of like one of those group think efforts, so like you're in a university that, really graduates a lot of bankers, investment bankers, lawyers, doctors, people, diplomats. And these were sort of the things that you go into. So I said, well, of all these things, I think maybe lawyer, being an attorney might be closest to what I'm interested in, but I'm not really sure. But, once I got in the environment of Time Incorporated, I did not want to leave to go to law school. I was really, I met people like Gordon Parks at Life magazine. I worked for Time magazine, Life magazine, People magazine, and Money magazine during those 4 years. I guess I spent the most time at Money magazine, which is probably a weird fit because I didn't consider myself someone who was really all of that focused on money. But that's where the opening was, and that's where I went. But these were really, Gordon Parks had an enormous influence on me. And as I was leaving, Bill Rukeyser, the managing editor of Money magazine, says, you want to do a lot of things. You really ought to focus on one thing and really, concentrate on that. Otherwise, you're going to spread yourself too thin. And I think the next day I ran into Gordon Parks, and we had a conversation. And I told him what Bill had just told me, and he said, don't listen to that. He says, look, how do you think I became a filmmaker while being a photographer? I studied filmmaking. I composed. I was a writer. I did all of those things. He said, wherever your creativity leads you, wherever your passion leads you, that's where you go. Don't hold back. Don't pigeonhole yourself into one particular career or one particular creative outlet. Wherever it leads, that's where you go. So I took his advice. I thought it was great advice.
I'd say
and,
so.
I never looked back.
I mean, that's amazing advice. And so you went full steam ahead. You're getting this experience at ABC, learning, and you have the kind of job where deadlines are important. Work is highly stressful environment. You get out of it. Do you have energy to do anything else? I know a lot of people, they're like, I don't have time to chase my dreams. I'm just exhausted after work. Did you find that to be the case as well?
No, I think that I have to give credit to the fact that I've always been really health conscious. So exercise, diet, meditation, yoga, I've really taken care. I mean, with the exception of sleep, that's the one thing I could have done a lot better on. I always had the energy, and I think it's due to the fact that I took care of my body. I'm very, picky about what I eat. Pure foods, raw foods. No alcohol, no drugs.
So you would credit all that to the energy level you had, even though you were in what most would say is like a stressful or, exhausting environment.
Well, I think that I knew going in that it was a burnout situation. I don't know. I'm trying to think about thinking back how I knew that. I sort of got the lay of the land even before I started working. I guess maybe talking to some network editors even before I became an editor. I knew that working for long hours in cold, dark rooms with a lot of stress is a prescription for disaster physically. So I knew that in order to survive that environment intact, that I would have to really exercise, diet, so I had a very healthy diet. Meditation was key. Yoga was key. I rode my bike, played tennis. So all of these things, and I think, that really kept me in a good position. So I had an abundance of energy. And I think the other thing that drives energy is passion. I mean, I've been blessed with, being very passionate about a lot of things. I encounter people who don't have a passion, and I don't understand it. But so during those long hours, or after working at ABC and coming home and working on my projects at home, I had another gear to shift into, and part of it was the fact that I kept my body healthy, but another part was the fact that essentially I was really passionate about it. So I said, okay, time to go at it, and so I had another gear to shift into. I had reserves.
So even while you were, you have this energy, you have this other thing you're doing, because you still had your business. You still were working with your own film company, right? Media Genesis Solutions. So you still had jobs that you were working on. Did you ever get tired and think, not today, I'm going to give myself a break? Did you allow that?
Yes. Yes. Well, here's the thing. I mean, you are, you're under a situation where, you're working for a corporation, and, you're under the gun for the corporation. But you have a little bit more leeway when it's your own business. So you can, you can afford to take breaks. Now, obviously, there are deadlines that you have to meet as well, but I think those deadlines are a lot more flexible than the ones that are corporate inspired. So, yeah.
Well, so here's the thing, right? When you're doing corporate inspired work, right? Whether it's ABC or NBC or whatever job, if you're working for someone else, usually the job is given to you, right? The story is there. That's breaking news. There's always something kind of on the horizon. When you're working for yourself, right? How do you find the work? How do you get the jobs for you to do, for you to use your passion and share it with the world? Or do you do only your own stuff that you're motivated by?
I've been blessed, but I've never had to advertise. People have always, come to me with projects. And I got to tell you that I don't take projects that I don't feel strongly about. In other words, I really have to believe in the project. And interestingly enough, I worked on a feature at ABC called Person of the Week. And these are, and they still have it. They run on Friday, and it's about someone who has done something during the week that has some kind of humanitarian connection. They fed the hungry, they housed the homeless, they did something that had some kind of overriding humanitarian flair to it. And I really enjoyed working on it. And I worked on those with Peter Jennings. And I did it for like several years. And the way it would work was that usually on like Wednesday, they get a few candidates of who they might do, and then they make a decision. And then Thursday, we'd start, working on it. And then, it would usually get all done in one day. Friday was the main day that we did all the editing. And those stories did several things. One, they allowed for me to journalistically, tell a story, which was great, and inform people. But the other part of it was that it allowed for a secondary benefit, that when you tell the story of someone doing a humanitarian gesture, something that is something they're doing, something that's not for their own benefit, it actually inspires other people to do something similar. It inspires people to want to help out. So what happens is that you get this ripple effect where people are doing these wonderful things, and it just multiplies. They call up the station, they want to donate. They want to start programs like it, in their neighborhood. So, and I just got just totally elated by that. I said, oh my God, this is something that I don't feel when I do a regular story, or when I do Person of the Week. I just feel elated because there's some inherent value to the stories that I'm working on. So when I left ABC, I said, well, those are the kind of stories and projects that I want to work on. I want to work on projects that have a humanitarian benefit. So, and I've been blessed with being, having the ability to work on those projects. People have referred me to those kind of projects. I often seek them out when I hear about them. And those are enormously gratifying because on the one hand, I get off my creative juices. On the other hand, it benefits, humanity. And that's a double whammy. And I, after working on one of those stories, I feel like I'm walking on air.
It's just uplifting, right?
Oh, tremendously uplifting.
I mean, and you've done several. You've done some documentaries. You've worked with a number of groups of people. But speaking of giving back, you've also given to kids, youth, and you're sharing your skills and the knowledge you have to them. When you could, what led you to do that? I mean, because you could have easily, used that time to further your business or do videos for someone else, like, pick up other jobs. But you're working with these young people, 6th through 12th grade. A group of your students just won the award, went to the White House, teaching them how to do what you do, video journalism, inspiring them and kind of training the next generation, which is an amazing thing. What led you to that?
Well, I was walking around my neighborhood. I was still at ABC. And I was thinking about how beneficial and what a privilege it was to work at a place like ABC and to teach at a place like Columbia Graduate School of Journalism. And I was thinking about, what was going on in these places. And I was looking at the people in my community. I live in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. And I was looking around and I was saying, well, gee, the young people in this community aren't creating media like the people at ABC, like the graduate journalism students at Columbia. The people in my community are just consuming media. And wouldn't it be great if they had the ability, if they had the skill set to create media? So I said, well, I'd like to teach them. So I really set out to teach them pretty much the same skills that I teach graduate students at Columbia Journalism School. How to tell a story, how to edit, how to research, how to report, how to write, how to shoot a camera, how to light it, how to mic it. And so I pretty much set out to teach them those same skills. Obviously, there are some limitations when you deal with high school students. And if you deal with junior high school students, there's obviously some more limitations. They can't come and go as they please. They have parental supervision. There's a limited amount of time that they can put into it. Whereas graduate students, they are, they sign on for, they work around the clock.
Right. They put the money and time into it. So they have more freedom, if you will.
They have much more freedom. So obviously I had to scale back some things, but essentially I set out to teach the same skills that I teach at Columbia. And we started having some interesting results. The first, working at Harlem Renaissance High School, we got some really wonderful stories told. And it was a high school that's called a transfer school. And it's usually for kids who have been having trouble in normal high school. Mm-hmm. So they've been usually put out of those normal high schools and they're sent to this one. And these transfer schools, and these are schools where they have a small teacher-to-student ratio, and they have a lot of resources that they pour into the students. But the students have a lot of issues that they're confronted. Poverty issues. They have sometimes they're living in abusive environments. So they have a lot of issues. But I noticed that once they start working on these video journalism stories, that a paradigm shifts. And the teachers notice it as well, that they looked at themselves differently. They looked at the world differently. And I said, wow, what a great tool. And then when I did my standalone program, the digital media training program, I noticed that the same thing happened. And you mentioned the White House Student Film Festival. I didn't mention to you that the first year we actually won an honorable mention, the first entry at the first annual White House Student Film Festival. We won an honorable mention. And I told the kids, next year we're going to win it. And
That's
they looked
amazing.
at me and they said, I don't
They didn't believe you?
I said, no. They didn't believe me. I said, listen, we're going to win it. I'm going to tell you how we're going to do this. I said, first, you have to visualize. You have to visualize where you want to be, what you want to accomplish. You have to visualize your goal. So I had them all close their eyes and visualize themselves in the White House, in the ceremony, with Barack Obama presiding. So close your eyes, see yourself in the White House. And, of course, I had to also have them visualize doing the work, the reporting, the interviewing, the writing.
Right, you just don't end up at the White House.
Right. But I think, the first hurdle is seeing yourself at the end, seeing yourself having achieved the goal. Because as soon as I said that, they were like, oh, no, that'll never happen. We can't do that. But you have to get over that and actually visualize yourself where you want to be. But you can't stop there, obviously. You really have to visualize yourself doing the work, incrementally moving in the direction that leads you to your goal. If it's training that you need to visualize yourself doing the training. If it's, some incremental steps that you have to take, you have to see yourself doing incremental steps. But it's usually, people are usually their worst enemies, and they set up all kinds of roadblocks and obstacles that keep them from achieving their goals. And the visualization is a technique that just obliterates that obstacle.
It's a very powerful thing.
Oh, it is the, when I tell someone, I say, do you want to know the secret to my success? The secret to my success is the ability to visualize goals and to visualize the steps to achieve those goals as well. But really, because I've been able to recreate myself, reinvent myself at many junctures in my life. And the key to all of that is the visualization piece. And I learned that while in college. There was a guy who was teaching a technique called Silva Mind Control, SILVA. And he taught me one of their techniques called Mirror of the Mind. And it's essentially you looking at a movie screen that's blank, and the movie is your life, and you visualizing in great detail the goal that you want to achieve, visualizing yourself in that goal. And so I use that periodically in my life, and I teach that technique to students. Whenever I get a group of students, I tell them, I said, hey, I'm going to let you in on the secret to my success. And it's the ability to visualize. And I teach them that, the mirror of the mind technique. Very, very powerful.
Very much so. And have you noticed a ripple effect with working with these kids, especially the second year? Are they more confident in their abilities to work?
They are more confident because it takes a lot of chutzpah to get in front of a camera and speak, or to get in front of a microphone and speak. So initially, there's trepidation and nervousness, laughing, but eventually confidence starts to build. And, look, the group of students that I just finished working with, we've worked from February to, we're working last week. And initially, they were very doubtful about their ability to create stories and to tell stories. And we have some very strong stories. And I've just been told that the local PBS station here in New York wants to broadcast them. So I just found that out today. And they want me to come in with a student and talk about the first story.
That's amazing. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. So not only will the story that they worked on be broadcast, but they'll get to go in the studio and be on camera and talk about their experience. So those kind of things have a tendency to build confidence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's very exciting to see that this program that you are working with, the kids are growing and experiencing new things, and how it's just building it one upon each other, one by one. And I, for one, also am looking forward to seeing what they do. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do in the future, and the new documentaries that you're working on. You have one currently that you're working on Dr. Hugh Morgan Hill, and it's called Remembering Brother Blue, the Storyteller?
Yes, indeed. He's a gentleman that I met. Believe it or not, I was at a yoga retreat, and he was telling stories, and we met and became friends. This was in 1975, 76, and I started filming him, interviewing him back then. I knew he was a very special person, and he really contributed greatly to the art of storytelling in America. I mean, he really had a profound effect on storytellers around the country and around the world.
When can we expect the document? I'm curious. I'm excited to see it.
Well, it's a work in progress. It's one of those pet projects that you work on every now and then. There is no budget. And there, unfortunately, is no timetable. But, I'm actually getting closer to the end with that. So I hope to finish that soon.
A true passion project, huh?
Yes. A passion project without a budget.
Well, as many find, a lot of passion projects kind of go that way. But I'm sure we'll see much more from you in the future, including that documentary. And guys, we'll keep you up to date, and we know when it comes out. But Mr. McCray, before we wrap up, one thing I have to ask, and I ask everyone, is, as an expert who has chased their dreams and is still chasing your dream, what is something that you would recommend to someone else who wants to chase their dream or may not be? Could be anything. Book, quote, someone to follow, something to do. What would you recommend?
I would recommend that they visualize their dream, that they go through a process, they sit in an upright chair, close their eyes, and visualize what it is they want to achieve. If they want to be a doctor, lawyer, writer, see themselves in that position, see themselves writing, seeing themselves being a doctor, seeing themselves being recognized by their peers for their outstanding work, for their excellent craft, and see themselves doing the work necessary to achieve that. And whenever they think about what they want to do, see themselves in it, see themselves already having achieved it. I think that ability to visualize your dreams is really the key. It is the key that unlocks whatever it is you want to be, that is the key.
Great advice. And I hope you guys will take that to heart. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you could do that at any point in your life, right?
At any point. I listen, I'm doing it now. I'm doing it now. As I mentioned, the ability to recreate myself is based on the ability to visualize. I mean, even when I retired from ABC, I said, okay, what is it that I feel passionate about? What is it I want to do? So, yes, it could be done after retirement, after college, after high school. At any time in your life, you can recreate yourself.
Well, there you go, guys. Mr. McCray, thank you so much for coming on the show, especially in between things, taking the time in your car to talk to us. Very much appreciated.
My pleasure. Good luck with your show, and good luck to all of those people out there chasing their dreams.
And that was Mr. Melvin McCray. Guys, wasn't I right? He is talented, he is humble, he is giving, he is fantastic, and he is chasing his dream every day, every minute, almost. I mean, I think you can almost, that might be a fair assessment given how busy he is, and he is living life to the utmost. And I hope you guys will do the very same thing. In fact, take his advice and do it today. Picture yourself, visualize yourself at the end of your dream chase. Where do you see yourself? Where do you want to be? What does that look like? Close your eyes, think about it, and hold it in your mind. And then picture yourself, visualize yourself doing the dream chase, each step like he suggested. And you might be surprised what happens when you do that. Okay? So do that. Take a look at the show notes page for this episode over at chasingdreamshq.com/episode 48. That's episode 48 for all the show notes and links that were mentioned on the show, as well as some supplied by Mr. McCray to share with you that you might be interested in, including some YouTube videos of the work that has been done, and definitely something worth checking out. So you guys go ahead, do that, visualize, and then go out and chase your dreams, okay? Until the next episode, where we will talk episode 49, keep chasing.
Thank you so much for listening to Chasing Dreams. Aimee would love to connect with you and hear all about your pursuit of chasing your dreams. Connect with her on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram via @ChasingDreamsHQ. Or you can find Aimee on Twitter @AimeeJ21. That's AIMEEJ21. Be sure to visit headquarters over at chasingdreamshq.com for more inspiration, motivation, and resources to help with your own dream chase. We hope you'll join Aimee next week, and until then, keep chasing.